Hello, everybody. I am live now as a solo appearance today on LinkedIn Live, and we're also on YouTube, which by the way, I discovered because right this moment, StreamYard, which is the platform I use to stream live, doesn't allow for LinkedIn comments to show through, but it does allow for, on my screen, that is, it does allow for comments to show through on YouTube. And so I'm able to actually see it on screen, actually show you your face and your comment as it's coming across the screen. So I really am loving YouTube Live. I'm hoping that LinkedIn has that feature soon where I'm able to actually show comments and a little image of who it is that's chiming in there out in the universe. Sometimes it's hard to do this kind of stuff. I'm just out there. We kind of are offering the best part of ourselves, depending on what comes to us, most of us. And most times I have guests, but sometimes I just want to come to you because either something that has occurred to me, or something has some, clients or friends, whatever, something that's come up. And so one of the things that actually has surfaced for me is this idea of sphere of control. And just today I was on a call and someone goes, "Oh man, Heather, you really have to share your story about all the things that are going on with you, with your kids, and being on lockdown with 4 kids." And this idea of control, keeps popping up. We can control so little of what's happening right now, at least on the stuff that's outside of us. And so I wanted to be talking a little bit about this idea of sphere of control. So one of the things that I wanted to share with you is what I'm experiencing right now. So we've had, gosh, how many weeks has it been? 8 weeks? I don't even know how many weeks, because I'm completely lost time on how long I've been here with the kids at home, and they've been doing distance learning. And I can see it in their eyes, me trying to support them. I have one who will be 10 in about 2 weeks. And then I have a 13-year-old, a 15-year-old, and a 17-year-old. And some of them I can just see like, oh gosh, what is next? And when are we going to come out of this? And when can we actually, see our friends again and have a social life again? And I have just trying to be there to support them. And at the same time, I have to make sure I take care of me. So, having my cadence and the things that I do day to day to make sure that I'm taking care of myself. And at the same time, focusing on all the projects I have. I'm writing that next book on the art of caring leadership. And I'm trying to have that silence time. And with a home with 6 people in it, it's awfully hard sometimes to get there. But I'm managing. But believe me, that sphere of control, this concept of sphere of control, which is something I talk to a lot when I talk to my executive coaching clients. I talk to them about that because often we get so frustrated by what it is that's around us or that people are doing, and then because we can't control it or them. And so I want to share a visual with you that helps me at least. Let me see how I can do this. This will be my first time doing a screen share, but I think it's going to be worth the time us doing this together. That's not it. Where'd you go? Okay, maybe not yet. Let's just see. I did it earlier, and for some reason now it's not popping up. Share. Maybe this has to be. Okay, well, that didn't work. So what we'll do is just go through it verbally. So there we go. It was there and then it wasn't there. What is happening here? Aren't you just so happy you're on this journey with me to learn how to do this? Maybe this is it. Let's try it. Nope, that's not it. Stop sharing that. Oh, come on, Heather. Share screen. Still not popping up. Okay. All right. So that'll go out the window. We'll try that another time. So the idea is, I wonder if that was what it was. Hold on. I had it showing too many things at one time. Nope, still not it. Okay. So this idea of sphere control, when we think about it as like 3 circles. The middle circle is kind of that sphere of control, what it is we can control. And then that kind of the inside circle is what it is we can influence. And then the outside circle is what they call kind of the circle or the sphere of concern, things that might concern us. We spend a lot of our time there. And what I want us to get to, and what I even work to try to get to, is this idea of focusing on the things I can control and focusing on the things that I can influence. And when I focus on the things I can control and influence, my stress goes down, my mental state improves, my physiologically, I feel better about kind of me and the world and how I'm in that world when I'm able to do that. Let me just see if there are people here joining and if there's any comments. Do tell me who is out there in the world, please. Say hello and let me know if you're getting the message I'm throwing out. And I don't know if there's anybody joining right now from YouTube, but definitely message me there, and I'll make sure to put that on the screen. Again, I love the fact that we're able to do that in YouTube and YouTube Live. We're able to put the whoever's out there and respond on the screen, and it's really cool, so everybody can see it. Versus this way, when it's LinkedIn Live, I'm the only one who can actually see the things that are coming. I mean, unless you have another computer and you're able to look at the comments, it's harder for you to actually be a part of it. So sphere of control right now, COVID-19, none of us really know in a lot of ways what the future holds, whether you have your own business, whether you are on furlough, whether you have been laid off, whether you are working at home for an employer. No one, if there's this fear that's there, right? And there's so much of it that is not inside of our control. Either our bosses are controlling it, the markets are controlling it, the Fed is controlling, unemployment's controlling it. There's so many different factors of when we think about that circle of concern, that outer circle, when we're thinking about the sphere, someone else is controlling them. And then when we move in there, that inner sphere, it's that sphere of influence, and those are the things that if we can learn to influence the situation by either increasing our emotional intelligence or maybe expanding our role or joining a project team that has more say or more input into a process around change that could be happening around us. So there are ways to gain more influence, but we still don't directly control those things. And I've been in that position a lot because in a lot of my career, I was a director, like at a director level. So I wasn't necessarily most of the time at a C-suite level. And so that would mean I'm not, CEO, COO. And so I had a certain level of control, and my sphere of influence could be vast depending on how much emotional intelligence I wanted to exhibit, how much relationship building I did, right? How adaptable I was to the changing environment, and things like that. Those are the things that helped with my influence. And often what would happen in the influential circle is I would get frustrated because I lacked control. Either I didn't know, I wasn't involved too much in it. I wanted to, get my hands on what was happening in the process. Let's say, for example, in COVID and going back to the office, and you may be like, oh, they should do this and oh, they should do that. And you're getting more and more stressed because you don't control it. Or you have your own business and you are like, oh my gosh, clients, a lot of my business is away. I want my clients to get back to work. I want them to get back so they can get me back. And so there's all this fear and this craziness going on. But so you have a certain level of influence with all of it, again, by getting closer to the source, by kind of elevating where you are in your role, either by volunteering, project teams, things like that, and or your skill set, the emotional intelligence. What are the things that you're doing to adapt more? What are you doing to build and inspire people? Those are the things that you want to do if you want to try to kind of expand that circle of concern into a place where you're influencing people. And then there's the sphere of control. And sometimes it's like super tiny. It's a little circle sometimes. And we spend so much of our time in those outer circles in our head and with our worry patterns that we aren't focusing on that thing that we can control. Hello there, Kathy. Thanks for joining. And Keith, hello there. And Jen, hey there. So glad to see you there. So we start to look at that, like that. How big is that space? Is the circle tiny? How big is it? So it's up to us to a large extent to determine how big that sphere of control is. So again, the things I talked about in the outer circle, we're not ever going to control those. So let's stop it. Okay. But we can control a couple things. We can control our mindset. We can control how we show up in our behaviors. We can control how we interact with people and how we make them feel when they walk away from interacting with us. There are a lot of things. We can control what we eat. during this COVID. So the first few weeks, I've always been someone who works out. I work out like 5, 6 days a week. But the first few weeks, I was drinking wine. I was eating. I was doing so many things that I would do, and I was doing it all the time. And I'm like, what is going on? And it was my way of coping through what was happening, kind of in that sphere of concern where I couldn't control a thing, and I was like, and I wasn't allowing myself to see the influence side and the control place where I actually had some control. So I was going a little bit off the reservation with my eating, and of course the scale reflected that, and I wasn't happy with myself. Then I decided to rethink that, and something just triggered in me, like a snap in my head, kind of a triggers what I do when I reframe. And I said, wait a second. Like there's certain things I can do. I can continue to do the work that I do, put the messages out, empower and uplift. I can continue to do my workouts, but now I can be better about eating more veggies and less carbs. I can not eat the sweets every single day. I can drink the wine very occasionally, right? So I can smile a lot. Most people think of me as someone who smiles, who's uplifting, and who's always seems to be upbeat. It's because I choose that. I control how much I smile and how much I frown. That's a simple thing, but it goes a long way to deliver what it is I want people to see. And actually, to be honest, it turns into my reality, because the more that I smile, the thing that I can control, the more that I smile, the more I feel better about what's going on inside of me and what's happening around me. And then sometimes it helps because then I am able to uplift other people and help them to feel better about themselves and what's around them too. So again, visualize for yourself some of the ways that you focus so much, and maybe focusing right now so much on that sphere of concern that you have no control over. There is absolutely nothing you can do in that sphere. And think about, is there something in that sphere, though, that if you exercise more emotional intelligence, if you decided to build relationships right now by reaching out to people and trying to, wrap your arms around them in a way that's obviously not real, but with your words, with your spirit, with your energy, how can you expand that to be a larger sphere of influence, where maybe you do have a hand in what it looks like when you go back to work, or maybe you can kind of speed up what happens with clients and their decision to come back and start to engage with you more. So you start to ask yourself those questions. But no matter what, we want to make sure that we're focusing on what it is we can control. Let me see if there's any questions out there. Don't forget to ask questions, or not even just ask questions. Pose your own feedback in this area, because all of us are going through this and all of us are getting through it the way we need to. I just find in my own experience, and even working with executive clients when I'm dealing with them and I'm working with them as their coach, is they often, there's a high level of frustration because they're so concerned about things that are around them. Oh, these employees are this, and this other executive person is this, and oh, I can't get this. And instead of thinking about those things, I try to redirect and reframe in their minds. Okay, but what can you control? And so I want you to ask yourself that here. Kathy, I have this discussion often with my kids. It's a good way to engage with the world. It really is. When you think about with my kids, so having 4 of them, I'm often in this place where I'm trying to help them to get out of a rut. And right now during COVID, I mean, I feel like I am full on in therapist mode right now, because they'll come down and I can just see it in their eyes. And sometimes I'm in a place where I don't have time to fully engage them right now. I'm going to be honest. Like, I may have to come down for a live, or I have a client call, or I have a virtual summit. I have something going on. And so I can't engage them right then, but I can maybe do a really quick, help them fix something quickly and say, but at the end of the day, let's go on a walk. Or at the end of the day, we're going to talk, and I want to kind of figure out what's going on. But even having said that, after they've expressed their emotions about what is out of their control, what are the things they are feeling like they have no influence over, I'm still in the position to say, okay, but let's think about what it is you can do. You can put in more effort into that work. You can reach out to the teacher to do this thing, right? So, and that's exactly, I don't know, I feel like I play that role a lot, where people are like, well, there's this and that. Yeah, but that's why we have this. And what role do you play? What role do you play in helping others discover their level of influence and really focus on their sphere of control? Whether you are a leader, you lead a team, whether it's in your own family, I'd love to hear you. Go ahead, engage with me in the comments on that. What role do you see yourself playing is almost like the catalyst for helping others expand their influence, reduce that whole sphere of concern where they can't control it, and focus like a bullseye. I talked about this one on one other LinkedIn Live, on that sphere of control, the thing that they can control. So here's for me. For me, when I was a manager and leader of teams, I could control how it was that I would appear when someone would come up to me. So if my team members would come in and say, "Oh, hi, Heather," and I could see that they are stressed about something, I didn't have to go, "Oh, what?" Right? I could decide to keep myself calm and have kind of a smile, that concerned grin, and then sit with them in an objective way and help them work through things. I chose to show up that way, but when they needed to sit with me to have a discussion that was deep, might even be very personal, I chose to to basically let that happen and to sit in that space. That was my sphere of control. I had complete control about how I showed up to those that looked to me for guidance. And I still have that control today. And so I lean on that a lot. So I'm wondering, how you show up in that regard. Come on, you got to talk to me a little bit. This is the time where we play. Jen, what about you? If you're still on there, what are some of the ways even for your clients, some of the ways that you help them focus on what do they control? For example, they don't have big budgets, but there's certain things they can do. Do you help them to think about what it is that they can control in that regard? Okay, well, you don't have $100,000 budget. Okay, but you have this much. What can we do? So I'm curious to know. And then if there's anybody out there that's in HR and right now, I mean, boy, blessings to you, I tell you, for all that you're going through right now, related to workplace topics, and it's got to be crazy. And I bet you as well that you are probably super conflicted because there's probably a lot of voices going on, and home base, kind of the C-suite, and then there are other employees who are like, "What is happening?" or "When are we coming back?" or they have so many questions. I had my mother was furloughed, and she was just recently called back. And the interesting thing, I probably have to writing a right article about this. She was like, "Oh my gosh, getting back to work, like after you haven't been doing this particular work, it's a kind of exhausting. It's a whole nother way of doing things now. So now you have to help your employees or your colleagues or your friends, even just getting back to work and helping them focus on what they can control when they're there and in the process of getting there, versus going, oh my gosh, I'm not gonna be able to do this. And I don't know. And now like unemployment and I have to deal with this. And they start to just completely go down a rabbit hole. And you're like, no, 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 no. Let's back our way out. Let's back our way out. I'm curious to know what role you play in any of that. Okay, so in the comments, right in there, what it is that you're feeling right now as it relates to your sphere of control. Do you feel like you are pretty square in control of things right now, in every aspect of your life, personal, financial, from a workplace perspective, mental, just all of it? Do you feel kind of so, or do you feel like I am way out of control? I'm way off the rails. I'm curious to know like what it is that you might be feeling right now as it relates to your sphere of control. I'm feeling pretty good these last few days because I've been hyper focused on getting my book to my publisher. I've been focused. I have a couple different virtual summits and things I'm a part of, and so I've been really focused on that, and always making sure that I deliver just weekly content here and in different places, just to make sure that for those who want to consume it, I am here for them, and that I'm also uplifting, constantly focusing on uplifting people. But that is part of my brand. My brand is about being intentional in that regard. So, how are you feeling right now? And what help would you need, even just from this community? Not necessarily from me specifically, but from this community. How we lift you up? How can we get you more focused on that bullseye, on that sphere of control that I lost control as I was trying to share my screen and see this PowerPoint image, which is a great image of the sphere. And what did I choose to do after trying a couple different times? I didn't stomp my feet and start to growl at myself and get crazy. I kept my control and my composure. I said, okay, guys, I'm here. And I just chose to show up as me. And I will always choose to do that, whether it's perfect or not. You get me. That's what you're getting. So what are you going through right now? Type some of that stuff in. Don't be afraid to say that. Kathy, thank you for being the first. I'm in control so often. I have play a therapist as well as with employees. Yeah, it's true. Well, I'm glad you feel like you're in control. I think it's critical. And so do you feel like I'm curious to know if any of you either meet the needs of clients, which most of us are either going to meet the needs of clients, customers, employees, which are still our customers, we're managing up to the C-suite sometimes, depending on what we have going on. Do you feel in what ways do you feel challenged to help people that are that are looking to you for guidance right now? Uh, to help them focus on their sphere of control. What ways do you feel challenged? Type that in the comments. Do you feel like people are just really overly concerned or focused on the things that they can't control, that sphere of concern? And in what ways do you feel like you have tried but fallen short and could use a little bit of guidance from those who join this live? Because even though there might not be as many people on right now, there could be some on YouTube. And also, this thing lives on LinkedIn and on YouTube. So people will be looking at this video for some time to come. So any comments you have, things like that, people may be responding to those. Just be prepared after this live show. So let me look and see if anybody's put anything in there. What about you, Keith? Anything from you? You guys are like crickets chirping out there. Ta-da! Tonight, I'm going to be on a International Coaching Federation for Los Angeles. I'm on there with a couple of my friends, and we'll be speaking on different topics to a lot of coaches that'll be on that call. And big coach, I feel good about being in the position to share some of the things that I think are really impactful and that people in leadership roles need to hear right now. And so I'm excited to have that going on tonight. Although at the same time, like I just talked about my sphere. So I have my youngest kid goes, "Can I go to the park? Can we go to the park, Mom? Can I go to the park?" And I'm like, "Oh no, I have like this call and I have like 2 other calls and I have to fill in some time with my book. And then I have like a thing from 4 to 6. But maybe we can go to the park after that." And so I can control when I do it. Sometimes there's a level of guilt that's there, right, internally, because I have to keep putting things off that really are quite important to me, spending time with my kids. But at the same time, I feel good that no one's telling me when I can't do it. So I feel blessed to say I will go and do this thing with you here. Now, if I go and do that thing with him there, I will then not do something else. For example, be cooking dinner at home. So giving those things up are something that I'm aware of. And that's another point to be brought up about sphere of control and sphere of influence and all of these things, is that we can only be in one place at a time. And we can only play, although have many hats, we can only have and serve one audience effectively at a time. And so for me, it's like trying to be fully present here with you, and then being fully present with my kids, and then being fully present with. So it's important to know that there's just, even though we're in control, we have to be smart about our use of time. Okay, so now put in there in the comments for those who are still out there in the world. I'm curious to know, do you feel more in control or less in control right now during this COVID-19 crazy time? More or less? And if it is more, why? And if it's less, why? So type that in the comments. Let's get some interaction with that. This is where the fun part of the lives come in at. Sometimes I've had as many as 100 people on this, and it just depends on the topic and the time of day. But I promise you that whatever we talk about, you'll get some more feedback later on from other people that'll look at it afterward because they couldn't join it right now. So if you feel less in control now or more in control now, and why on both ends. Let me make sure I get out of this. I'm going to get out and get back in just to make sure I'm not missing anything here. Okay, so there's no more comments. So I'm going to wrap up. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to wrap up with just, again, overarching looking at the spheres. Remember, there's the sphere of concern. And sorry, I couldn't show you that visual. That's the concern. That's the thing. Like my stepmother said this, my dog doesn't feel well, I can't, I'm not making more money, my boss was rude to me, I don't know what's going to happen when I get back in the office. There's all these things that we really don't have any control over, and I'm saying to please spend very little time there. And then there's that middle circle of influence where we gain more influence by building relationships with people, by, for example, elevating ourselves in an organization or in our role to either be a part of projects or boards or organizations. And then, of course, increasing and expanding our emotional and social intelligence to be aware of what's happening around us, and to be real sensible about what that is, and then being adaptable and things and courageous and all of that. And then there's that sphere control. It's the bullseye. And I want you to be thinking about that bullseye this whole week when you maybe might feel yourself or sense that inside of yourself, you may feel things bubble up, or you could get really frustrated, or you could feel a sense of overwhelm happening all over you. I want you to be thinking about the bullseye, the sphere of control that you can control. There might not be a huge amount of things that you can control, but the things that you can, commit to controlling those today. It's been great. Thank you so much for those who did join. And I'll be back here next week and the next following weeks on Wednesdays. I will be having more guests on. I have a CEO series coming up on leading through COVID-19 and afterward. And that's going to have a few of the CEOs that have been on the Leadership with Heart podcast, which is part of my the Caring Leadership community. So thanks again for joining, and have an amazing week. Be intentional, please.